to Air Rifle Testing. Glad you can join me today. So this is a long overdue video. I've been wanting to do a follow-up videos on the coyotes that I shot and the skull that I collected from the taxidermist, who happened to be the landowner. So she did the skull for me, and she actually got me a pouch for the first coyote. So this was first coyote. I'll put the video link below. He was shot at 70 yards with my FX Crown .22, and I was using the Air 18 grain. So at the time, my power setup was 32 foot-pound at the muzzle. So this video took a little while because, like I said, I wasn't sure whether or not my gun can actually drop a coyote, but that's the only caliber that I have. And my gun was very accurate, and I can reliably hit 100 yards, 75, 100 yards tight group. So I was confident that my gun can do the work, but whether or not I can execute a shot, that's another different thing. But anyway, so this coyote, it took me 10 minutes to put a trigger, and then when I did execute the shot, it hit him right in the temple on the left side. And he just went nose down, done. Completely out. Instant kill. So you can imagine, I was very excited. First coyote ever. I was trembling. I was just overjoyed. And at the same time, I knew my gun at that distance, at that power plant, is enough as long as the placement shot is there. So this is where I aim. I aim just below the ear. And the shot went through and through. So a lot of power to go through the skull. And looking at the skull now, it's not very thick. So definitely doable. However, now that I shot my other coyotes with my impact, I don't recommend using a low power, like a pellet, unless you go higher caliber, 25, 30, whatever. But with the 22, unless you're very sure with your shot, then go for it. Otherwise, I would suggest go a higher caliber, or in this case, go with the slugs. So that leads to my second coyote. And this was a female. This is a year later, went back to the same farm. So we got there, and sure enough, this female is sitting there, waiting, I don't know, just resting or something. So I was leaning against a post, 70 yards at a different spot. So now I'm shooting with my FX Impact, because I can 23 against slugs. So at the muzzle, at the time, my gun was set up at 45 foot-pound, so a lot more power. And I knew, since I had my first experience with the pellet, and I knew if I hit the spot, this coyote is going to go down. Just the day before, I installed my power plenum. I got more power, and then I zeroed my gun, and I was comfortable shooting out to 75, 80 yards. That's why when we got to the farm and I saw the coyote was at 70 yards, and I knew I can do it. I was more confident. And so it didn't take me that long to execute the shot. However, my shot position was a bit tougher because I was standing and I was leaning against the side of the barn. So that took me a while to get set up and gather my emotion and calm down my breathing. And then by the time sorry about that, I have to change my battery. So anyway, back to the second coyote. It took about 19 seconds for her to expire. So the shot went through and through, as you can see here. Just slightly higher a bit than the first one that I shot. I'll do a close-up hopefully later. Now, looking at the difference, the entry wound. So with the first one, with the pellet, it actually has a bit more fracture at the entry. and then a cleaner hole in the back, bigger for some reason. Whereas the Slug is more cleaner entry hole. I guess the Slug is more pointy. However, you can see the skull here is like fracture right through, and then rip out a bigger chunk of skull on the exit wound. So that to me, that explained the Slug went in with a high power, high energy, went inside and expanded, and then it pushes the back end once it mushroomed. So that's why the exit wound a little bit bigger than the pellet. They're pretty fair size, but slightly bigger. But definitely looking at the crack, the skull, there's a lot more force from the Slug on impact. So yeah, it was definitely devastating for both Coyote in this case. So my thoughts after this experience, yes, a 22 grain pellet, even 18 grain, is capable. However, I don't recommend you to use it unless you have a very high confidence that your placement shot is going to be exact. Otherwise, for me right now, since I shot 3 more Coyote with the Slug, Slug is the way to go. More energy, and then the expansion. So definitely, like for me moving forward, like Slug is the way to do it. So that's how I would recommend. But if you have to shoot with an 18 grain pellet or something, make sure your shot placement is critical, that you're accurate. And for my personal experience, even the first, second, third, and fourth Coyote, I was very excited. My adrenaline was so high, and the first two was just like the first one, just mind-boggling for me. I was like couldn't stop breathing, and then I was like just hyperventilating. But luckily, the end result was good. I'm happy, and that was my first experience. Second experience, because I had the first encounter, so I was more confident, and I know my gun was more powerful, so therefore I executed the shot better. Now, the third Coyote, it was a small one. I didn't keep the skull because I shot it in a different farm, and the farmer just disposed of the body. So that one, it was a smaller one, and that was video number 3, so I'll give you the link as well. I shot him square on the forehead because he was facing me, and I think that was at 65 or 70 yards, I can't remember now. So it is square in the temple, and he just buckled and rolled down the hill, instant death. So that was with the Slug again. That was my third Coyote. And one of the Coyote that I was attempted to do, which I missed, that was in the rat farm. And I shot, that was really close, 30 yards, and I shot it over his head because it ducked when I pulled the trigger, just because there's so much movement. So that was my very up close encounter with the Coyote, and then I missed. So, and that video, that Coyote, I spent a lot of time because I shot a lot of rats, feeding them and all that stuff, capturing on my trail cam. So a lot of footage, but no results. But anyway, that's how it goes. So, and then the fourth Coyote that I had, it was a different farm. And again, stakeout, many nights, and then finally, I think that was 50 yards or something. Anyway, shot that one on the side of the head, and it ran, and then the tumbled on the hill, and then found the body. So that was my 4 Coyotes. But anyway, that's my Coyote experience with airgun shooting. And my point is, you need to be accurate, because when you're in the hunt, you're waiting for hours, or you just happen to see one, your adrenaline is going to be so high, and you won't be able to keep still, at least for me. So, shot placement is very critical. So hit it where the tempo is, or forehead, or in the back, anywhere in the brain area, you have a good chance. I won't recommend going for a body shot or hit heart and lung like people were saying, unless you have a high caliber. So headshot is the way to do it. That's how I would do it. I would recommend to do it. But again, make sure your placement shot is key. Make sure you practice, confident, and if the shot is not there, don't take it, because I have many opportunities where I was aiming, and then the coyote was moving so much that I didn't just fire a shot because I didn't want to injure the coyote. I know they're pests, but still try to be as humane as you can. At least that's the principle I try to follow. So I do the best, and yeah, hopefully in the near future, maybe this winter, I'm gonna have another crack at the coyote. So H&N has been sending me heavier grain. Actually, I should be getting one shipment today with the Gen 2 H&N slugs. I believe they are 25, 27, or 28, and 30 grain. So I have tested the heavy grain up to 40 grain. But I think the 40 grain is a little too heavy for my impact setup right now, because I didn't want to push it too hard. And it's only a 600 millimeter barrel. So I think 25 grain is probably the weight that I want to tune my impact to shoot. So when I get the new slugs, well, I'm going to do some testing and see if I can get it dialed in and shoot up to 75 yards or even 100 yards. Like I said, shooting coyote, I'm ranging, 50 yards to 80 yards maybe. But anyway, so that concludes my coyote videos. Like I said, I will do a close-up and show you guys. Yeah, it can be done, but make sure you do your shot, you practice, and good luck. Cheers. So the one on the left was shot with the H&N, no, sorry, AR 18 grain pellet. And let me take the camera off the tripod here, 1 second. Okay, so here we are. I'm gonna do a close-up now, so you can see. That's the entry wound. You can see the fracture there, and then this is the exit wound. So right through. So that was the first one. As compared to the second coyote, that was shot with a slug. So you can see what I meant by fracture. Right here, all the way down, it cracked. So a lot of power at impact. And then as it entered the brain, through the skull, and the slug expanded, you can see the hole was much bigger. So devastating. But yeah, so these are my two coyotes, shot with my FX Crown and my FX Impact. One with the pellet and one with the slug. So that's the H&N 23 grain slugs. It's been working really well for me. So as I say, I'm going to try the 25 grain and just get more power and hopefully more devastation to the coyote for the next future coyotes anyway. So thank you very much. Hope I see you on the next one. Cheers.